In previous videos, I've shown you different types of Hakka Tulou. They are all in Yonglongtang, one of the 8 Hakka counties in West Fujian province. Only a few are in the adjacent border area. Constructing Tulo required a lot of money. Just think about how many timbers we used in building a Tulo. Some Tulos took years or even decades to build. Hiring workers and craftsmen was another major cost. Take the Fuyu Tulo built in the 1880s, for example. The total cost was equivalent to today's 30 million yuan, which is about over 4 million US dollars. It was not something an agrarian family could afford. But in Yonglongtang, there are about 300 round Tulos and 4,000 square ones with considerable size. What made Hakka in Yonglongtang so rich?
Hello, I'm Yan Yan. I'm in Yonglongtang, Fujian province. Yonglongtang is famous for Hakka Tulos. There are over thousands of Tulo here. It was the tobacco industry that made the Hakkas living in this hilly region rich and constructing thousands of Tulos financially possible. Right now, I'm in an area that was the center of the tobacco business. I'll show you the luxurious Hakka Tulou here and also talk about the tobacco industry in Yonglongtang in the Qing Dynasty.
On the bank of the stream that's called Fuxi, there are 18 mansion-style Hakka Tulos, one next to another. Many of them have the 5 phoenix style. The owners of these Tulos, all engaged in tobacco business, had their own brands and opened up tobacco stores across the country. These Tulos were beyond houses. They were complex of living space, private school, tobacco mills, business offices, warehouse, etc. I'll take you to visit this complex called Yonglongtang. The Yonglongtang Tulo is actually comprised of 2 Tulos built by 2 brothers. The one in the front belonged to the older brother, and his younger brother built another one 45 degrees behind his own Tulo. The front Tulo has the 5 phoenix style with that tall building at the back. I introduced this type in detail in Hakka Tulou episode 2. These rooms surround the front yard with a tobacco mill. In addition for sun-drying grains, the front yard was also used for sun-drying the fresh tobacco purchased from farmers. In a typical 5 phoenix style Tulo, there are 3 entrances in the front. Behind the entrance in the center is the ancestor hall. From the remaining wood carvings, we can still tell it used to be a very luxurious Tulo. The front hall, the 6 partition doors, the courtyard, the ancestral hall, these are the basic components of Chinese mansion-style houses. Behind the ancestral hall is that tall building in the 5 phoenix style Tulo. The name of this Tulo is actually Fushen Tulo, but if you ask local villagers what the Fushen Tulo is, they wouldn't know what you are talking about. They only know Yonglongtang, which was the tobacco brand the brothers established. It was a common practice in this town for the families to name their Tulo after their tobacco brand. So although this Tulo has its own name, people still referred it to the brand name Yonglongtang. The layout of this tall building is similar to a modern apartment building, except for that there is no kitchen nor bathroom inside. There are 8 rooms on each floor. And the stairs are at the back. This is the top floor. The halls and the main building are encircled by the exterior buildings on the 3 sides. But the exterior buildings are not linked by corridors as in the standard Tulo. They're divided into units with private courtyards. Each unit is an independent house. Compared with typical Hakka Tulos with corridors, this kind of design is more convenient. Each family could live in a private unit. Next to this corner unit, there is a door on the first floor, and let's see what's outside. It's the Tulo of the younger brother. It has its own name, Fujian Tulo, but again, people refer it as Yonglongtang. We just entered the rear Tulo from the corner of the front Tulo. Of course, this Tulo of the younger brother also has its own entrance. It's here. The Tulo was under restoration. I'm glad the local government steps up to preserve it. This Tulo has the shape of a cube. Contrary to the typical Hakka Tulos that are linked by corridors, all 4 sides have independent units with the same layout in that tall building in the front Tulo. It's quite different from the Tulos I showed you before. Again, this design grants more privacy to each family. Outside the Tulo by the stream, there is a dock. Tobacco products produced in the mills inside the Yonglongtang Tulo were shipped from this dock to the stores across the country.
There used to be 8 docks like this along this section of the river. Most of them were private. They were built by those tobacco companies and were used exclusively by them. Some of them were even named after their tobacco brands. Each day, tons of tobaccos were shipped from here across the country via this river.
This stream converges into the Yongting River, which further goes into the mother river of Hakka, the Ting River. That's the geographical advantage for this town to develop into the center of tobacco business. Tobacco, which originates from Latin America, was introduced to the Philippines via the Manila galleons. Hokkien, who engaged in trade with the Philippines for a long history, brought tobacco to Fujian province in the late 16th century. The Amoy on this map is Xiamen. Tobacco then was introduced to Yongting, the border region of Hakka and Hokkien. It became widely planted in Yongting and brought fortune to this hilly region. Many Tulos I showed you in the previous videos were related to tobacco business. The small quadrangle units in the front yard of the Yijing Tulo were tobacco mill, warehouse, and offices of tobacco business. The first floor of the Zhende Tulo has an open style and was the tobacco mill ran by the family. The mansion-style Fuyu Tulo built by 3 brothers was also related to tobacco business. Coming from a village that traditionally made tobacco slicing tools, the 3 brothers successfully gained customers in Fushi town, the center of the tobacco business. These were their products. From the first generation of slicing tools to the 4th generation, they kept on innovating. By supplying the slicing machines to tobacco mills, they accumulated large amounts of fortune and built that luxurious Tulo in their village. Almost everyone in Yongting got a share out of the tobacco business. Farmers earned more by planting tobacco than planting grains. They could also earn extra income by working in the tobacco mills. As a result, farmers could afford to build a small Tulo with several units. Those who ran tobacco mills could build larger Tulos. And those in Fushi town who turned commodity into branded products and sold them across the country could afford the best craftsmen and build mansion-style or even palace-style Tulo. That's how tens of thousands of Tulos of different sizes were built in Yongting. Today, people in Yongting still plant tobacco. They do so each year after the Lunar New Year and harvest around the Dragon Boat Festival, which is late May to early June. After the tobacco is harvested, they would start planting rice paddy. Among the Tulos in Fushi town, there are some without a roof. It was due to a sad story of the town. In 1935, the Huang clan and Lai clan in the town were fighting for a piece of land. The conflict soon escalated into a large-scale war between the two clans, resulting in large casualties. The governor of the Yongting County was appointed to make peace, but was shot dead during the negotiation meeting. The then nationalist-led government sent 2 aircraft to bomb the town and finally ended the war. It's an unbelievable story. The reason for me to tell the story is to give you some background of Hakka Tulos that look like castles. One would naturally think Hakka built castles because they were in fear. But in the Qing dynasty, when most of the Tulos were constructed, there's no systematic hate in the society against Hakka in Fujian province. Part of the reason to build castles was the bandits that lingered in the mountains. But it was also because of the large-scale fighting between different clans that happened all the time. It was a social problem that bothered China for very long, especially in South China, where the society was more organized in clan basis. Although tobacco is still planted in Yongting, it's not allowed to run private tobacco mills in China anymore. Today, the tobacco business is monopolized by the state. The glorious days of Yongting are gone. The Tulos in Fushi town are empty. Although Hakka Tulos are world famous today, few would visit the ones that are not on the UNESCO World Heritage List. Few people know the 5 Phoenix style Tulo, and few people would come here. But walking in this Tulo, I was surprised to see many kids play in the front yard. The central hall, which was the ancestor hall, was full of study tables. The kids told me they were having a summer camp in this Tulo. Their parents were also with them. The 5-floor building at the back became their dorms. It's such a creative idea, and it made good use of the Tulo. I would also love to have a cultural immersion summer camp in Hakka Tulou. In the next video, I'll travel to Chang Ting, which used to be the capital city of Hakka region in West Fujian province for centuries. The town that has more than a millennium of history was an important stop on the route of migration of Hakka. The Ting River that Hakka regard as the mother river flows by the ancient city wall. I'll tell you the story about the person who opened the Ting River waterway, about the stone columns in the Temple of Confucius, and about many other things related to Hakka, the Han Chinese who migrated from North China to South and then further migrated across the world. I'm Yan Yan. I make videos about sites of interest in China and histories and stories behind them. Subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time.